Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from the night. And there was a lot going on in the association, so I'm going to jump right into it, beginning with Lakers versus Kings. I almost made a video about the Lakers yesterday following their big comeback win against the Phoenix Suns, where they moved to 2-0 after beating the Timberwolves in the game before. They looked really, really good, but I decided if I was going to proclaim that the Lakers were back, I would wait one more game and see how they performed against the Sacramento Kings, who were a big test, because this is the second half of a back-to-back for the Lakers, while the Kings are coming off a really tough loss in their home opener, so really looking to grab a win here. And the Kings have given the Lakers fits over the past couple of years. 1-8 in their last 9 games against Sacramento, the Lakers are, and there's been 5 straight L's on their record book. Not to mention, Anthony Davis has never beaten Domantas Sabonis in his entire career, so there are a lot of streaks against them. They had the rest disadvantage. They, again, had to fight a lot to get that win against the Suns. Everything seemed to point to the fact that the Kings would end up winning this game. But the streak is over. Anthony Davis has beaten Domantas Sabonis. The Lakers have a win over the Kings, and they're now 3-0. And it was one of those wins where I feel like over the past few years, they would have blown it because they started out up pretty big, but then the Kings fought back. It's a team that has a lot of really good clutch players. So when it got to the final few minutes and the Lakers were barely holding on to a lead, it seemed like the Kings would probably end up taking this one. They have De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk and DeMar DeRozan, Domantas Sabonis, guys that were going absolutely ballistic, but the Lakers held on to win, and it was primarily because of their star duo. LeBron James had 16 points in the fourth quarter alone, 32, 14, and 10 on the night, and Anthony Davis put up 30-plus points for the third straight game with dominant defense to open up the year. You got 18 from Rui Hachimura, 16, 7, and 6 from Austin Reeves, 16 from D'Lo, 10 from Dalton Connect. The Lakers dropped 131 points. This was a dominant offensive masterclass for them, and they've now moved to 3-0 for the first time in 13 years. Since Phil Jackson was the head coach of the Lakers, we have not seen a squad that doesn't have a loss to their first 3 games, and they look like a whole different team. Despite the personnel being very similar to what it was last year, it's night and day with this Lakers team, and I think a lot of that has to do with JJ Redick. If you want proof that coaching matters in the league, this situation is a great example of that. I'm sure any Lakers fan or anybody who's watched the Lakers play over the past 2 years will agree with me that it is night and day right now. JJ Redick, despite a lot of people questioning him as a head coach, someone who's never coached at any level before, had a podcast with LeBron becoming the Lakers head coach. I'll admit, it was kind of a weird situation, and I felt good that JJ Redick would be a decent coach, but unsure how it would look from day one. He has passed pretty much every test so far with flying colors. From the beginning, he went out there and said that the lineup they were going to run was going to be the one that was the best last season. There was going to be no experimentation, flipping of a bunch of different roles, like Darvin Ham did a lot of games last season, kind of wasted half the year just moving guys around for no reason. Instead, JJ Redick said, okay, it's going to be D'Lo, it's going to be Reeves, it's going to be LeBron, Rui, and Anthony Davis. And what do you know, that lineup that was great last year once again looks dominant to begin this season. Not to mention offensively, there was just so much more movement, so many great motion sets. There was this one set tonight with Dalton Connect involved in it that I swear I've seen run for JJ Redick before, or I could picture JJ Redick doing the exact same thing and it led to a 3. It's part of the knowledge that Redick has. I mean, you saw it when he talked with LeBron on the podcast and the interviews that he's ever done. He knows what he's talking about. He knows not just how to run plays, but how to draw up them, how to fit himself into that. I believe he said he was drawing up plays for Dalton Connect the night that they drafted him. He's just a basketball sicko, and it's not just the sets that they're running, it's the roles that players are in. Like Austin Reeves is being allowed to handle and do a lot more in this offense, and it's leading to a Reeves that looks a lot more like the player we were hoping to see last year, where he's getting some dimes, he's scoring efficiently, he's scoring a good bit more. Anthony Davis is currently playing the best basketball of his entire career. Back-to-back 35-point games to open the season. Now this 30-bomb, he's the first Laker since Kobe Bryant in, I believe, 2005 to have 3 straight 30 bombs to open the season. That's ridiculous. He's being used as a hub more. He's being asked to get involved in actions quicker. Like, one of the big differences from last year to now is I swear there were so many moments last year where the Lakers would walk the ball up and take a full 16, 17 seconds to get into any type of motion, any type of action, even go inside the 3-point line. They were kind of just standing around waiting for something to happen, and then they would rush into really bad offense. Now the Lakers are making things happen. They're getting guys open. There's off-ball screens, flares, you name it. The Lakers are probably doing it. Guys are cutting. Guys are giving a lot of effort on the offensive rebounds. There's immediate buy-in. I cannot believe that this is the same Lakers team that I saw play a lot of games last year, because they legitimately right now look like one of the best teams in the West. And last season, it was just meh. Like, if they named an MVP right now, it would be Anthony Davis. And this is huge because not only is AD playing really well, good for the Lakers, obviously, but it's big for LeBron James too, because the first two games, LeBron really didn't have to do anything to help the Lakers out. He kind of just coasted by. Like, his numbers weren't bad, but it wasn't typical LeBron numbers that you were expecting. A lot of people are thinking, is this the beginning of the decline for LeBron James? Is he just going to start slow in the season, this, that, and the other thing? And then tonight, like I said, 16 points in the fourth quarter. He went ballistic, and he said after the game, he's like, hey, if Anthony Davis is playing like this, I don't need to do too much. I can kind of just chill, but if I need to turn it on, I can turn it on. And he did that in the fourth quarter. He stepped up big time. But if AD can be the guy for this Lakers team, like I think he needs to be if they want to compete for a championship, it allows LeBron to kind of just coast, chill for the regular season, and get to the playoffs healthy for the first time in the past few years and actually contribute at the highest level. That's going to be massive. It's going to be big if AD can actually stay healthy too. We'll have to see on that because that's never a guarantee. And even beyond the top two guys and like Austin Reeves, Rui has been playing, like I said, really, really well. I love the way that he's been utilized. He looks really confident out there knocking down shots. Jackson Hayes in the first game of the season looked like Derek Lively out there. It's not been as crazy the last two games, but I like the way that he's been used as a rim runner. D'Lo was pretty rough the first two games, but it was better tonight. I still feel like he's the weak link in that starting lineup, and they'll probably move him at some point, but he's been fine so far. I mean, again, they're 3-0 at this point against three teams that people are expecting to be playoff squads. Last year, the Suns and Wolves were two of the top 6 teams in the West. I think people expect them to be right around that range again. Kings were outside the play-in, but they added DeMar DeRozan, so they've beaten 3 really good teams, and they have looked impressive while doing it. I'm not ready to say that they're championship contenders or anything like that, because the Lakers have had big ups and downs, and again, we'll see where the health lands when we get to later parts of the season, but I am ready to say that this Lakers team is a lot better than last year's team, and I have more confidence in them now than I have over the past few years. I really feel like there's a chance they could make some noise in the playoffs if they keep guys on the court, if they continue to get this buy-in, this energy, this effort, if they make an acquisition around the deadline. In the offseason, I made a video saying that the Lakers were wasting everybody's time, that they had to make some type of move. I called them one of my biggest losers of the offseason because they did nothing. Maybe they cooked. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong about the Lakers. We'll wait and see on that front. They have a couple more big test games coming up. They've got the Suns and the Cavaliers on the road coming up next. Then it's the Raptors and the Pistons, followed by the Grizzlies, the Sixers, another Raptors game. Then there's the Grizzlies again, the Spurs, the Pelicans, the Jazz, the Magic, the Nuggets, who look kind of rough right now. We'll talk about them in a moment, but then the Suns again, the Spurs, the Thunder. It really doesn't relent for the first month of the season, taking them all the way up to December 1st. There are a lot of really tough matchups, but if they can come out of that somewhat unscathed with one of the better records in the Western Conference, we'll have to have some serious conversations about this team and where they stand in the grand scheme of championship contention. But just for the moment, I'm enjoying actually fun Lakers basketball to watch, seeing LeBron and AD be able to play at the highest level, the talent on this roster be maximized. It's a breath of fresh air, so JJ Redick deserves a huge shout out. LeBron and AD, specifically Anthony Davis. Again, he's playing unreal basketball right now. We'll see if it continues, but for the moment, the Lakers kind of look like they're back. And on the other side for the Kings, the defense is just so bad to start the season. It's putrid. I knew it was going to be pretty bad. I was worried about it. I've definitely not been reassured by their first 2 performances. They're currently the 4th worst defense in the league. It's a very small sample size, but it doesn't bode well for you right now. Like, they put up 127 points, 28 from Fox, 29 from Sabonis, 23 from DeMar, 14 from Malik Monk, Kevin Huerter, and Keegan Murray. But if you can't get a stop, none of that matters. And I don't know why Keon Ellis doesn't get a single minute in this game when he's clearly one of your best defenders. You need to get at least a stop to go ahead and close this one out. He just didn't touch the court for some reason. And the final bucket that really kind of put the dagger in this one for the Lakers came on a terrible defensive miscommunication from the Kings. So I'm very worried about that. We're going to see if they can pick it up a little bit, if they can settle in. They did play seemingly 2 really good teams with the Wolves and the Lakers to start the season. But yeah, this defense just looks awful. Moving on now to some of the other games. The Clippers faced off against the Nuggets, at home game for Denver, and they lost again after losing to OKC and getting embarrassed. They now lose to a Clippers team that does not have Kawhi Leonard. James Harden, 23, 6, and 16 dimes. 37 points from Norman Powell. I think he had like 22 in the fourth quarter. Couldn't miss if you blindfolded him and tied his hands behind his back. Zubats, 25 and 15 and 4. He was just dominating on the interior. The Nuggets defense didn't stand a chance, and the offense continues to be terrible after it was awful against the OKC Thunder, although that's a great defensive team, and the Clippers seem like they're pretty scrappy on that end. It has to be so much better if you want any chance of competing in the West. They ended up shooting 30% from 3 outside of Nikola Jokic and 40.2% as a team. They lost at home, though, while Joker dropped 41, 9, 4, 2, and 1 with 7 threes. That's a career high from him. He basically said, if the team can't shoot, I'm going to shoot. I'm just going to go ahead and be a volume scorer, which I think he's going to have to continue to be for this Nuggets team to be at all decent offensively, because nobody else can make anything happen. Jamal Murray is up and down. He doesn't look nearly as good offensively as he did last season, at least through these first couple games. Michael Porter Jr. is bricking threes left and right. At one point, he had a really good look at a three and hesitated and swung it to Aaron Gordon. Out of all people, you need to be the one taking that shot. Christian Brown is nowhere near the shooter that KCP was, and he looks hesitant to take threes. The only guy who's really not hesitant is Russ, and he just shot 0 of 8 from the field, 0 of 3 from deep. It's bad. It's really bad over there in Denver. Honestly, this video is almost talking about how the Nuggets are in deep trouble. And if they continue to play like this, that video will come sooner than later. I'm going to give them a few more games to see if they figure it out, because it feels like they always do, but absolutely not encouraged by the beginning of this Nuggets season. Meanwhile, the Celtics faced off against the Pistons in a game you presume they would win handedly because they dominated the Knicks, they blew out the Wizards, but the Pistons really fought in this game. I thought the Celtics were going to pull away in the second half because at halftime, they had 16 threes. They were on pace to go ahead and break the three-point record, or at least tie it for the second time this season alone. But the Pistons just kept fighting. Cade Cunningham, 21, 10, and 6. Jaden Ivey, 26, 5, and 6. Malik Beasley, 17 points. They were doing everything they could. If you want proof that the Pistons have improved and look way better, you can look at this game, because I know the record says they're 0-3, but they were close with the Pacers. They were kind of there with the Cavaliers. It wasn't as close. And here with the Celtics, they really made the defending champs work for it. A team that just blew out their pass to opponents had to really battle against this Detroit Pistons squad. So even though they're 0-3, they've looked a lot better. I feel way better about this team this season than I did last year. And it's cool to see that Cade and Jaden Ivey are having good starts to the season. They are cornerstone players. And for the Celtics, it was another Jason Tatum masterclass, really trying to put a stamp on this beginning of the season and build up a legitimate MVP campaign. Also, my Thunder took on the Chicago Bulls. I don't have a lot to say about this other than the fact that Chet Holmgren's taken that jump. 21 points, 16 rebounds in this game, completely shut off everything defensively against the Chicago Bulls. Much more comfortable handling the ball, getting through the lane, the touches there, the mid-range jumper. He hasn't even hit a three yet to start the season, which I am a little bit concerned about. I'd love to see him hit those shots, but it's not like the form looks broken or anything. He's kind of just barely missing. I think he'll be okay, but I'm just mostly reassured by the fact that he's still playing so well, even with the three ball not falling once it comes back around. He's going to be truly unstoppable out there. So yeah, shout out to Chet. J-Dub had a near triple-double. Shea didn't have any crazy numbers because he didn't have to play that much because the Thunder ran the Bulls off the court. Over in Spurs versus Rockets, we saw a Victor Wembanyama signature game to begin the season. 29 points, 7 rebounds, and assists with 3 blocks. Shooting 60%, hit a couple of threes, including one from the logo. And it led to the Spurs being way up in this game for a lot of it. They had a 22-point lead, but the Rockets rushed back in this game, specifically Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks. Jalen Green has had a pretty good start to the year. He's looking a lot more like himself from the end of last season through these first 3 games. Had 11, 2, and 3 in the fourth quarter. Dillon Brooks had 10 points. They had a chance to tie the game with 23 seconds left, but Jalen Green's pass was just a little bit behind Cam Whitmore, and it ends up going out of bounds. Jalen Green did have a look at a 3 to go ahead and send this one to overtime at the final buzzer, but it was a very off-balance look and didn't go down. And this all leads to a 1-2 start for the Rockets, which definitely isn't ideal, especially when you're losing to the Hornets and Spurs, who do look better this year than they did over the past few seasons, but the Rockets want to be competitive. They want to be a playoff team. You can't afford many of these losses in the Western Conference. Not to mention Şengün got benched in the fourth quarter, played really poorly. Jabari Smith Jr. has had a really messed start to the season. It just hasn't quite clicked, and I wasn't one of the people who thought the Rockets were going to be like a 6 seed or anything this season, but I was expecting a little bit better from them to begin the year. And the final game I want to go in-depth into is Suns versus Mavericks, which saw the Suns get a good bounce-back win after the aforementioned Lakers collapse. It was a massive KD game, 31-9-2. He has not lost a step. Nurkic, much better game in this one, 18-14 after against the Lakers. There are many calls for him to be traded. He had a really solid performance. I do still think they need an upgrade at the big man spot, but this at least was a good game from him individually. Devin Booker, 21 points, 4 of 12 shooting. Hasn't been the best start to the season for D-Book. That first game, he was very uninvolved in the offense. This game, he was inefficient. It feels like they're still trying to figure out how to make this thing quite work, and Bradley Beal wasn't in this game, so that also kind of threw off the rhythm of everything. There's some adjustment going on with the Tyus Jones acquisition, having a real point guard now in the new starting lineup. But I feel like they've done a decent job, all things considered. For the Mavericks, Luka had a typical game like he usually does against the Suns. He was dominant, 40 points, 10 rebounds, 4 dimes. Clay had 19 points with 5 threes. Efficiency was better before he kind of started chucking at the end. Kyrie had 22, albeit it was inefficient. Really, the role players let them down in this game and kind of have to begin the season. season. PJ Washington shot 2 for 10. I do worry a little bit about some of his shooting from the end of last season, and specifically in the playoffs, not carrying over to this year, because for his career, not the best three-point shooter, and Najee Marshall has had a really rough start to the season, missing layups, not hitting his outside shots. He's supposed to be the DJJ replacement who was super impactful for the Mavs last year, and if he can't put it together, that's a big blow. I think the Mavericks will be fine. The Suns are a good team. But yeah, not the best start to the season, because even in the win against the Spurs, didn't look that convincing for a majority of it. And finally, to wrap it up, the Cavs blew out the Wizards 135-116 behind 30 from Donovan Mitchell. The Heat beat the Hornets 114-106 behind 26-8-8 from Jimmy, 22-5-5 from Tyler Hero, and 12-11-3 from Bam Adebayo. And despite 27-8-7 from Melo, who continues to play amazing to begin the season, the Grizzlies beat the Magic with a 16-2-10 game from Ja, 18 points from Jay Huff, UVA legend, shout out to him, and 12 dimes from Scottie Pippen Jr., who's looked really good as their backup guard to begin the season. And the Wolves beat the Raptors behind 24-9-5 from Randall, 24-6-4 from Ant, and 16 points from Dante DiVincenzo. With all that being said, those are my thoughts on these games, my takeaways. Let me know down below in the comments what your thoughts were, and how do you feel about the Lakers? Do you think that they are back to a championship contender? Do you feel like they're going to peter out a little bit? Are they somewhere in the middle? We'd love to hear your opinions, as well as just, again, everything about these games. Leave a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. I'll see y'all later. Real One Say back.